did not expect it to do that. So,
It's
um,
all good.
yeah, all good. Well, on that note, I mean, here what we're here to talk about is your journey to wealth, time, and freedom. And we haven't really talked about this before. I don't think on our live streams, the WTF moment.
Not really. I think I've mentioned it from time to time when, I'll slide it in there subconsciously, to try to just, create some of the, I guess, buzz about it. But we haven't specifically broken down WTF on a live stream yet. That is true.
Yeah, well, let's do that because I think that it really sets the stage for what we are going to talk about tonight. We're actually pivoting. We were going to go and break down how money makes money inside of an MPI policy.
Yep.
But tonight, we've just over the course of the last few days, we have received so many comments about velocity banking, of course. And so we wanted to be able to answer these as soon as possible. And we felt like it was beneficial to break these down and just fully answer them,
Yep.
some things that you don't really see on YouTube or otherwise, right?
Yep. Let me kind of, I guess, set the stage a little bit. You're right. We ended last week or Sunday or whatever. I get the day
Wednesday.
screwed up. Wednesday. There we go. We ended Wednesday basically saying, hey, there was a lot of questions around how money actually grows inside of a secure compound interest vehicle. Well, the reason or the way we had gotten to that point was we had broken down a few velocity banking examples. And once that cash flow is freed up, what do you honestly do with it? Like, where does it go? What do what actions do you take with this cash flow to be able to generate more cash? So we went through a few examples of, hey, when you put your cash flow in this position, whether it's a high yield savings account, some hybrid account, or a secure compound interest account like MPI, it can do some amazing things for you. Well, the questions became, how in the world is an MPI plan capable of doing these things? And so what I committed to doing was breaking down how money actually grows inside of a vehicle like this. But throughout the week, we've been getting a lot of traction, a lot of feedback, a lot of response from these velocity banking videos wanting to better understand velocity banking. And I think there are some specific questions that keep coming up. They keep reoccurring. Now they may be phrased differently, coming from different people, but it's still the same consistent questions as it relates to velocity banking. So we thought it would be a good idea to just attack a couple of those questions and address some of those questions that we seem to be consistently getting. Make sense?
Yeah. Yep. So, but first, let's talk about the WTF moment because I think that this is important. It's kind of it's almost like our mantra almost.
Yep.
It's this moment that we call it the WTF moment. I think that's what people are having in the comments. They're having their WTF moment, realizing that this is possible for them and wanting to know, how do I do it? And before you even like venture off into taking the next step in learning how to do this, you first have to believe that it's possible. And so our hope is that for those who are watching is that you're learning how we've done it. We've already done it. So we're not talking about something that's possible for other people. We're talking about what we're currently doing, what we have been doing for years,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. But what the questions that we're getting are about, hey, nobody else is saying this, so how is this possible? And just because nobody else is using these tools in the way that we're using them doesn't mean you can't use them this way.
Right.
So I think that's kind of part of what makes us different is we don't subscribe to traditional systems, ideas, or ways of doing things. We're outside the box. And I love that for us. I love that for everyone else too that's watching that gets to learn. So, Donnell, just break down what is the WTF moment?
Well, it absolutely is meant to have a double meaning, right?
Yeah.
WTF, I think most of us know what WTF means in one fashion. But really, from our perspective, it's wealth. The W in WTF is wealth. How do you generate wealth? What vehicles are you using to generate that wealth? How accessible is your wealth? So when I say, are you having or have you had, or are you in the midst of your WTF moment? It's that moment where you realize, hey, this is the vehicle. This is how we're going to generate wealth, not just for ourselves, but generate wealth also for generations to come. So the W in WTF is wealth. And then it's time. And I am adamant about control of your time. The question you should sit back and ask yourself is, who currently controls your time? Meaning, when you want to do what it is you want to do you have to ask someone? If there's a vacation that you want to take, you want to go visit your mom in whatever state she might be in, do you have to request that time and hope you can get it? Or have you built up enough time? And what that ultimately means is you don't control your time. So the T in WTF is, are you doing what's necessary to take control over your time? And then the last one is freedom. People talk a lot about freedom, but freedom is really no different than wealth and time. Freedom is relative. Freedom is different for everyone. Freedom can be a monetary number, but freedom can also just mean I have the ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it with whom. That doesn't necessarily have a dollar figure associated with it. Maybe I
Right.
live my, and maybe my lifestyle is modest. So I'm not looking to be a millionaire. I'm just looking for all of my bills to be paid. And once all of my bills are paid, I now have freedom to do whatever it is I want to do. And if I do velocity banking, do infinite banking, follow these other steps and strategies that we're kind of talking about, am I putting myself in a position where my money's making its own money, and that money that my money's making is making money? So therefore, I now am able to institute freedom. So it's all about that WTF moment: wealth, time, and freedom. Does that help?
Yeah. And I love this concept because I think that in it's the double meaning is also when people see this and they see what we're doing, they go, "What the,
Exactly.
like, how are they doing this?" I love that you said it doesn't have to mean being a millionaire.
Right.
And I think some people think that in order for you to retire, you have to be super wealthy. In order for you to have financial freedom, that must mean or success, that must mean being super wealthy. It must mean having all of the stuff and the things that look like success and that seem like success. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who have those stuff, those things, that lifestyle, never get to retire and they never become financially free. Now, I'm not saying you can't have the stuff or the things. I'm not saying that any of that. But what I am saying is you don't have to be rich in order to retire early. You don't have to be a millionaire in order to build a machine like this that feeds itself so that you can have your time back, so that you can obtain wealth, get your time back, and achieve the freedom that you deserve. We all deserve it. And we're tired of the gatekeeping. There's a lot of people out here who understand these strategies. This isn't new. We didn't invent something. These strategies have existed for a long time. It is just that there's a lot of gatekeeping behind these strategies, and we've just decided we don't care. We don't care to build a course. We don't want to put this behind a paywall so that anybody has to then invest in order to get this information. How much better is it to give back when you know that you have a machine that's making its own money? You're not relying on everybody else to bring in the money for you. And I love that. And I think it's brilliant and genius to be able to even understand how these things work so that you can put this together. Because knowing that everything is going to be okay, that allows us to sleep better at night.
Right.
Knowing that we can help other people build the same system that we have and that we are gifting it to them, that helps us sleep better at night. And ultimately, this is being the change we wish to see, right?
No
So
doubt.
we invite you along. And on that note, people who are in the comments, people who are commenting, by the way, thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Shri says, hey, if you're on the fence, just book a call with them. Don't wait. Just go ahead and book that call. They know what they're talking about. Thank you so much, Shri, for saying that. Really appreciate. Oh, she says it's asking, what does a rich life mean or look to you? And I think
Right.
that's a great question.
And when I meet with people, my first, I don't care what we're talking about, what the subject matter is, my question is the same: what's your goal? Because it starts with what it is you're hoping to achieve. Not everyone has kind of taken the time to identify what their goals are, and that's fine. So we can kind of dig into some of the details to help get to the goals. But that's step one. What is it that you want out of all of this? What's your goal? Because not everyone's goals are the same. If you want to be a millionaire, okay, let's talk about it. If your objective is to just get out of debt, okay, let's talk about it. If your objective is to, hey, I want to know more about a secure compound interest account and how money can work for me, hey, not a problem. But it's peeling back those layers to really understand what are your goals. And
Yeah.
something I want to mention, because I think this comes up a lot also. What makes me credible to even be in this space? Because
Right.
I am not a, let me be very, very clear. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a tax attorney. I have a series nothing. I am an engineer by degree. I love math, and math clicks for me. And what I've learned about myself is at my core, I'm just a teacher. So you give me a complicated item, I have the ability to break down those complicated pieces and give them back to you in hopefully a logical manner. And therefore, I am open. And I think it's almost purposeful for me to be able to share this information, because what that means is, hey, I'm doing my part. My part is to take this complicated piece, break it down into small bite sized sections, and feed it. But I am in no way, shape, or form a financial advisor. What I am is a retirement planner. And I've been in this space for what, well over, I guess, 12 years, going into my 13th year. And what
Yeah.
that means is I build, I create IRAs and 401ks for you to have control over to be able to invest in non traditional investments. I'm not a bank. I'm not a life insurance company, but I am a licensed life insurance provider. Well, how does retirement planning and life insurance providing even go together? And I think 4 or 5 years ago, if you would have asked me this question, I tell you it didn't. But the truth is, there are life insurance based products out there that can produce retirement income. So if I'm a retirement planner who creates IRAs and 401ks, why wouldn't I also have other products that can also do the same and produce income?
Right.
And in addition, on our journey, as I became educated in these spaces, in order for us to be able to put ourselves in a position to have a self-directed retirement account, or in order for us to be able to put ourselves in a position to have a secure compound interest account, we had to go through a journey. And that journey started with velocity banking. And it was through velocity banking where I learned about infinite banking. And it was through infinite banking I realized the power of a secure compound interest account. And then the other lever that we pull is how to better use your home, because your home is your largest asset. Most people don't access the strength of their home until they sell it. But there's actually a way that you could leverage your home now to be able to use it to be able to contribute or build that compound interest machine that you're needing to be able to create your WTF moment. All of these things talk. All of these things go together. You don't need any of them to be able to achieve your goal. You don't need any of them to be able to get to your WTF moment. But these are the tools that we use to be able to get us there. And so, what I'm trying to educate people on is the tools that we use. I am not saying these are the only tools. These are just happen to be the tools that we're currently using.
Right. Well, hey Ted, we got Ted on. We've missed you, Ted. We really appreciate the everyone who tunes in to our channel, because I mean, we're just like we're building a family here with those who come and they comment, and we adore all of you. And those who can't show up to the live stream, but they watch the replays, or the other videos that come out of our live streams, and they comment. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is making sure that we're addressing these fully. It is really hard to explain some of this stuff like in a reply or a response to a comment. So we're going to do a deep dive. And on top of that, one of the number one feedback that the number one feedback that we've received on our channel is that the visuals are really helpful in understanding some of these concepts. And so we had to put some visuals together. So we
And
can't do
let's
that in
let's
the
be
comment
clear
section.
about that. We are not putting together visuals. That is not what we do.
Yeah. Well,
I can
it's
talk
teamwork.
about it, but this woman here is who puts together the visuals. And I'm telling you, I'm so appreciative because the visuals also teach me. Just because I understand it doesn't mean I do a really awesome job of articulating it, right? So I think the visuals help tell the story. And I think I am very appreciative of those visuals helping tell the story too. So
Yeah. Well, teamwork makes the dream work, right? And when we all bring our best gifts forward, when we all bring our best gifts forward and we bring to the table, like, this is what I have to share. I can guarantee that there is somebody who is watching this live stream who has a piece that we haven't even seen yet.
Man, man,
Guarantee
teach
it.
me, please.
Wouldn't the dopest thing be for somebody who was watching this go, okay, hold on, like another person who just loves to rabbit hole, another engineer type, somebody who loves to assess information, and they're breaking down our system and how we did it, and they went, hold on a second, did you think about doing this and unlock a whole nother level to this? Like along the way, that's literally how this happened for us. We just started with one thing, and then like the next level got unlocked. It's just been like a game, right? We kind of gamified it in a sense, and that was just that's kind of how we're trying to enroll it for everyone else. But we have to show you what's possible in order for you to fully understand what it is that you're doing, and how you're jumping into this will make a difference. If you're wanting to just get started like small, to
Right.
see what you're missing out on, you can't go back and you cannot redo your strategy. So you can add to it, sure, you can pivot, you can make these changes, but being able to see what's actually possible may be a game changer for you. So this is why I think it's important we answer these questions right here, instead of waiting and or trying to do it in the comments. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure logistically you can hear everything still. Everything sounds okay.
Yeah.
I heard something weird, so I just want to make sure everything's okay.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Hold
All
on.
good. All right. So, velocity banking is the subject matter. And just to reiterate or re explain or make sure everyone understands what velocity banking is, it's the concept of your income going into your paycheck. I'm sorry, your paycheck going into your checking account. And then immediately, once that income goes into your checking account, it goes on to a debt tool. You get to decide what that debt tool is. There's many different types, right? There's HELOCs, if I could spell, there's PLOCs, there's credit cards, there's many different tools. You get to decide what that tool may or may not be. But once you use or once you identify what that debt tool is, the next step is to pay bills from that tool. And when you pay bills from that tool, what does that do? Well, the first thing it does is it pays the when you put your income on to the debt tool, that initial payment that was on that tool is satisfied, which means all of your cash flow is sitting here. Instead of it sitting here doing nothing, it's sitting here. And then once you pay bills from this debt tool, the balance goes back up on the debt tool, but all of your bills have been satisfied. And ultimately, your cash flow ends up sitting on the tool. And that is how you knock out the balance on that debt tool over time. And what does that accomplish? Again, and I think the piece that I want to make sure we address today is what's the goal of all of this stuff, right? That goal being debt elimination, right? The goal is to just eliminate debt. If you didn't need, well, I guess the question is, do you need velocity banking? Velocity banking is not required for you to eliminate debt. Velocity banking is not required for you to eliminate debt quickly. It's just one of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of ways you could go about things. The other piece around velocity banking is use of a dollar. Oh, if I could spell. Meaning getting multiple uses out of a dollar. When you pay bills from your checking account and they go address debt, once it leaves that checking account, there's nothing else for that dollar to do other than to address that debt. I get a lot of pushback on this topic, but you have the ability to use the same dollar multiple times when you're doing velocity banking. And then the last goal is once you've eliminated the debt, once you're getting use of that multiple uses out of that dollar, it's freeing up cash flow. You now have put yourself in a position where cash flow has increased. My main goal is to help you do something different with that cash flow. Not allow that cash flow to continue to sit in a savings or a checking account that's really doing nothing for you. Once the cash flow is identified, once the debt has been reduced and because you've gotten multiple uses out of a dollar and that cash flow has now been freed up, Now it's time to identify where we can put that cash flow so that you can now have your money start making money for you. It's about compound interest. The end result about all of this is how do we get to a point where your money is making money for you? How your money is producing compound interest over time. Well, during last week's live, I've gotten a lot of questions related to this subject. And rather than, oh, I guess it's kind of hard to read, so I guess I will read it. And it says this: the idea of using the same dollar twice is false. I mean, there's a lot of words there, but ultimately it starts out with the idea of using the same dollar twice is false. And all I want to do is kind of just answer this question because it comes in multiple forms. But it's a consistent theme of you can't do this. Or the theme is not that you can't do it. The question is, why would you do this? Why wouldn't you just pay bills like you normally pay bills?
Right.
There's nothing accomplished by this process. So I just wanted to address that question. Anything you wanted to add there?
No, just agreeing that a lot of the pushback isn't in questions of how are you guys doing this? It's you can't do this.
Right.
And why would you want to do this?
Right.
And I think, well, here, let me just go back on. Oh, always turns off. I think the point is that instead of looking at what's possible, it's a mindset thing, right? They instantly want to shut down and say, no, you can't do this. I wouldn't want to do this, or I don't want to listen. I don't even want to listen to these ideas. And that's a problem because if when you see what you're missing out on and you cannot go back, and I don't know how else to say that other than to say you cannot go back 5 years, you can't go back 10 years and start something because you just were stubborn and wanted to do something a different way just simply because you didn't want to believe that it was possible, even though you're
Right.
watching other people do it. You just didn't want to believe that it was possible. You just can't go back. So that's all I'll say for that. You want to move on to the question?
Yeah, let's do it. So again, my objective then is to just kind of break down the concept of how to use the same dollar multiple times. And to do that, just kind of set the stage. I wanted to do a very simple, more simplified example. Not going to get into all of the different types of debts and all of the, the multiple streams of income and where money is coming from. I just wanted to simplify this to kind of just talk about this topic. And to do that, I just wanted to make it kind of basic. Let's say income is $100. Like the total income for the month is $100 coming in. And you only have two payments from that $100. There's a $25 credit card payment and there's a $25 mortgage payment. That's it. There's no other bills associated with this income. Again, I just want to pare down this example. This is just simply an example, simply my opinion. This is not financial advice. This is saying if as income you only had $100 coming in and you had two payments, a $25 mortgage payment and a $25 credit card payment, and the balance on that credit card is $100. And it's actually maxed out, meaning the credit limit on that credit card is $100 as well. So it's a maxed out credit card with $100, with $100 limit and $100 balance. So the amount that we're going to put on to that credit card, which we're going to use as our debt tool, is $25. So if we were to do that,
Just
let's
simple
see, how
math.
does that look? Just want to make sure everything fits.
Well, it looked, I'm gonna be honest, it looked nice and neat when I gave it to you. That's just
So
my
yes, I
feeling.
have been drawing on this, and it mainly because for time's sake, I just wanted to be able to kind of get through it. So again, income coming in. That income is a total of $100 going into your checking account. Let's assume that you can't get multiple uses out of a dollar. What would normally happen? Okay, when that $100 goes into your checking account, there's two things that are going to happen. That $100 is going to pay a bill of a credit card, and that $100 is then also going to pay that same bill for your mortgage. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is when that $100 comes in, $25 is going on a credit card, and then $25 is also going on your mortgage. So when you do that, when you pay $100 from your checking account and that $25 goes on that credit card, that balance that was $100 comes down to 75. And when you put put $25 on your mortgage is now paid. So this is done. But what's left in your checking account is $50. Again, $100 came in, 25 went on the credit card, 25 went on the mortgage. You have $50 left over. And if you wanted to, so to those who say, why would you even do this? If you wanted to, you could then take this $50 and put it onto the balance of the credit card. Just pay it straight from your checking account and take that same $50 and put it on the credit card. And if you do that, the balance on that credit card would then become, if you were to do that, the balance on this credit card would then become, very simply, $25. Like, pretty simple. So do you need Velocity Banking to be able to pay this balance down? You don't. You don't need Velocity Banking to do so. But what if you did use Velocity Banking and that same $100 went from your checking account to a debt tool, all $100 of it? Well, when this $100 goes on to this debt tool, what does it do to the balance? The balance on that credit card now goes down to zero, right?
Yeah.
But you do have to pay bills from the debt tool. We only have one bill. The one bill that we have on this debt tool is our home. So if we pay $25 from the debt tool onto our home, pay that $25, the new balance that's going to be left over on the debt tool is now $25. Both of these ended in the same end result. $25 left on this credit card compared to $25 left on the debt tool. It ends in the same place. But what did you accomplish when you put $100 onto the debt tool? What did the credit company say to you when you paid off this balance and it went from $100 balance down to 25? I'm going to say the credit card company saw that as a positive. And then in addition, this is the other piece that I want to make sure is clear. What are the other things associated with this debt tool? Meaning when you pay bills from a debt tool, there's a cash back opportunity. There's a points opportunity. Meaning, what about gas and groceries or whatever those options are when you do that 3% cash back or the other perks associated with having a credit card. So not only did you end up in the same place, but you also achieved some other perks associated with that card. So I am not saying Velocity Banking is the only option, but what I am saying, there's an opportunity to pay that card off faster using Velocity Banking. And the truth is this: if we continue to do the same things that we've always done, we'll end up getting the same results. So a lot of the feedback that we receive from people going, why don't we just follow, or why don't you just follow this process? Well, those people who follow this process are probably not in debt. Those people that follow that process probably don't spend beyond their means. Those people who follow that process probably make a purchase when they have the money available. So I agree, you can follow that process. But what about for those who don't? What about for those who don't fit that same criteria? What about those who have gotten themselves in a position based off some emergency or some health related issue or student loans or whatever the reason is? What about an option for those who may not be in that same position? This is that option. And that option is to be able to use a debt tool, use the same $100 onto a debt tool, pay it off faster while addressing your same bills and achieving some other opportunities.
Okay, can I add something?
Yes, please.
First of all, I added the graveyard because that's where your money goes to die. You didn't say that part. And I wanted to show people why that graveyard was on there. Mm-hmm. The money goes to die.
It does. Once you use a dollar once, there's no place else for it to go other than to that bill when you pay from your checking account. That is correct.
Right. till it goes to die.
Right.
Okay, so the other piece to this, you were asking like these people may not live beyond their means. That's not true. There's a lot of people who are using that same system and they're just not paying their debt off fast. They're paying a
Right.
lot in interest, but this is where you would spend 30 years paying off a mortgage. And just if you were to look at an amortization schedule, if you bought your house for $350,000, let's just say, what would you end up paying after 30 years? Somewhere to the tune of like probably $800,000. So you really bought a house for $800,000. They should say that. That's what they should say.
Right.
However, that's not how it's positioned. So you think you're paying $350,000 over the course of 30 years, and that's not true. You really paid that off a long time ago. And so this strategy cuts out all of the fat that they get paid and it brings it all back to you, because what could you do with that extra $500,000 or $450,000 or
Or
however
whatever that
much it
number
is?
is.
It's a ridiculous amount of money. Even to student loans, the amount of money that is spent just to be paying minimum payments, just to be feeling like you're checking your boxes and you're adulting, this is not how it should be. Because there are systems like velocity banking, infinite banking, it's an accelerated way of banking. I don't know
Right.
how else to describe it. It is a hack, the ultimate hack. And this actually should be taught in schools. As soon as a new tool comes on the market, they should say this is how this could become a part of your wealth strategy.
Right. And to be clear, did I use a dollar more than once? That
Yes.
$100 came into my checking account. When I put
Right.
that $100 onto this debt tool, it took care of that $25 balance.
Right.
And I didn't use all 25 that was originally due on this payment vehicle, this debt tool. I used money out of this 100, meaning the other 75 is what I used to pay this mortgage. So that 75 went onto this debt tool, created room, and then 25 that was sitting on this debt tool then also paid this mortgage. That dollar went from here to here. I used the same dollar multiple times to address two issues and received other perks from it.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about the perks because this is really where not only are you, velocity banking is not a wealth strategy.
It is
It's
not.
not.
It is not.
It's just a debt reduction tool.
It's a
So,
way to free up cash flow.
right. But it is not a wealth strategy. It does not grow your money. It saves you from spending more money, like I was just talking about with the house, but it is not a wealth strategy at all. However, you're already using the money out of your debit account, out of your checking account. If you're already paying bills, if you're already buying gas, if you're already doing all of these things through your checking account, why not do them through your credit card, knowing that you'll get cash back, knowing that you'll get miles, knowing that you'll get points? There have been so many trips that we have taken just because of groceries, rental cars,
Very true. Very true.
flights, hotel rooms, all just because we were just using that card for groceries. We would have used our debit card anyway. And I'm going to tell you right now, the bank wasn't giving us anything. They weren't sending us on trips. They weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything but charging us a fee every month for using it.
That's right. That's
So
right.
at minimum, this is the smarter, not harder method. And I don't know anybody who wouldn't benefit from these extra perks that come from using this system. Anyway, so I just want to real quick. We had a couple of comments.
Yes, yes.
We have one from, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'll do this one first. Sarita says, just started velocity banking a couple days ago and already see a difference. I'm so thankful for all of your lessons.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. And here's what I love to know, Sarita. What challenges are you running into? When people do comment, I try to respond with a question because I'm very curious. Because I believe there are things that we don't know. There are things about velocity banking that I don't have a clue about, and so I'm very curious as to how other people approach velocity banking because I would just want to learn. So I'm curious if you're running into any challenges or what some of the unique things you found since you just started.
And I think that's the point, is that this can be customized for everyone. So So not everyone's going to have the same experience. You're using a different bank. You're using different credit cards. So there's a lot of, and you have different bills, right? So there's a lot of different ways of using this. It is customizable. However, that also means there may be challenges that one person runs into that another person doesn't. So that's such a good point.
Yep.
Eliza says, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for explaining it so clearly. Thank you for tuning in, Eliza.
Yeah,
It's good to see
absolutely.
you. And then we have, I want to say Eni, Eni, Eny. I can't pull
Nassau.
it up because it's a LinkedIn comment. But it says, love the info you are sharing. Learning to build wealth through investment does not mean being a millionaire at the start.
That's right. That's right. I say it all the time. Compound interest is not sexy. There's nothing sexy about it, and it takes commitment, and it absolutely takes time. So no, I agree with that 100%.
Okay, one more. Hold on. I want to do it now. Harmony Renee says, I want to do it now, but low income of 2000 and some bills can't be paid with credit card. They are personal loans attached to my bank account. Ooh, Donnell, I think you can handle this one. What are some questions she might be able to ask to better explore? Well, actually, the next example would give her that would be her answer, right?
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
And so this kind of leads into the next question. And if you remember that example, I took $25 and paid a credit card, and then out of the debt tool paid the mortgage. We paid the mortgage from a credit card. And one of the consistent comments or questions that we receive is, wait a minute, we all know credit cards can't pay credit cards, or we all know you can't pay some bills from a credit card, or we all know you can't pay your mortgage from a credit card. And
Yeah,
in some
everybody knows
cases,
it.
that is true. But I'm telling you, I'm not telling you something, I'm not saying something that we don't currently do. And so what I wanted to do, and as I was kind of thinking back through all of the hundreds or maybe even thousands of velocity banking videos I've watched, I don't know that this has ever really truly been explained. And that is, how do you pay bills that traditionally can't be paid from a credit card? And our personal approach was an evolution. It started with using a credit card to pay our mortgage, using a credit card to pay credit card bills. And it's evolved to using a HELOC to pay our mortgage, a HELOC to pay all of our bills, credit card bills or loans or whatever the case may be. So our process has evolved, but it absolutely started with a credit card paying a credit card. So what I wanted to do is dig specifically into the details of how we specifically do it.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't mean this is the only way. There are other opportunities out there, but I thought it would be a really good idea to just kind of walk through how we specifically do it.
You ready?
So, yep. So, using the exact same thought process of the exact same example, meaning income is $100. There's two payments. There is a mortgage payment of $25 and a credit card payment of $25. And the balance the balance owed on that credit card is $100. So again, using the exact same example, two payments. You make $100 and you've got two payments, a mortgage payment and a credit card payment. Well,
So $50 in cash flow. That's what you're
it
saying.
will end up being $50 in cash flow. But when the income comes in and all of that income goes into your checking account, that $100 goes into your checking account, and you take all 100. Remember, the balance on the credit card, balance due, not the minimum payment, but the balance due on that credit card was $100. So when I take this $100 and put it onto the debt tool, what happens? Credit card is paid. Balance due has now dropped to zero. Credit card is paid off. But we've got another payment. We've got another payment in the form of a mortgage.
Oh
How
yeah,
do
you're
you
gonna have to
pay?
make it. You're gonna have to make it smaller
Yeah, I
because
know.
we can't see.
I know. So now that the debt tool has been paid, we've taken all of the money out of our checking account. So there's nothing left in the checking account. The checking account is now zero. The debt tool has all of your income, all $100. And when you put that $100 onto the debt tool, it satisfied the payment of the debt tool. So there's no payment on the debt tool, but we still have to pay this mortgage. This mortgage, there is $25 owed. And in most cases, the mortgage payment is a direct debit. meaning it comes out automatically every month. You don't have to write a check. It automatically comes out of your checking account every month.
Yep.
So when this $25 comes out of this checking account, but there's nothing in it, what happens? Well, it creates a situation. It creates a situation where now there is an overdraft of $25, right? $25, there was a $25 withdrawn from your checking account with nothing in it. So it created an overdraft, a negative balance of $25. Well, what happens? Well, in our personal situation, we have what's called overdraft protection on our checking account. So when this situation occurs, when this negative situation occurs, it triggers some action. It triggers whatever the vehicle is being used for overdraft protection. It triggers it to take action. And that action is, hey, we need to pull $25 from some I'll call it debt tool, but basically it's whatever that vehicle is you're using for overdraft protection. We need to pull $25 from whatever that opportunity might be to pay this mortgage. So it automatically there's no action that we have to take because the balance is zero. When this when this mortgage payment of $25 comes out, it automatically generates once this negative transaction takes place, it automatically generates action. And that action is, hey, we need to pull $25 from this debt tool. And that $25 is then going to immediately be placed into the checking account. And so therefore the mortgage will be paid based off I'll call it based off a overdraft protection action. So again, 25 is owed. It pulled 25 from a balance that had zero in it, creating a negative situation. And because the checking account itself has overdraft protection on it, it pulled that $25 from the debt tool, which then satisfied that negative 25, which means the mortgage has been paid and the checking account is back at zero. That is the actual steps that take place inside of our own checking account.
Okay. But
Go ahead.
can you just walk through one more time where the overdraft protection gets turned on? It kicks on, right? You said it triggers on.
So what triggers that overdraft protection is really the fact that because the balance is zero, your checking account is fine sitting at zero. There's nothing that's happening in your checking account because it's zero. But the minute this payment comes into play, it creates a negative balance situation. When this negative balance situation occurs, that is when it sets in motion this debt tool that then pays whatever that overdraft dollar amount would be. So it kicks on when this action takes place. It automatically kicks on whatever the action that needs to take place from the tool that is being used for overdraft protection.
Okay. If anybody has questions, no question is a dumb question. We would prefer people ask questions right here so we could show, because when people ask questions in the comments, it makes it really hard to answer when, with words. So I just want to be sure that everyone feels comfortable asking those questions. You're very more than welcome to ask them. So Mary is asking on LinkedIn, is this US only? Can you do this in anywhere?
That's a great question. The short answer to that question from my experience is I don't know. However, the concept that I'm mentioning here isn't a new concept, meaning this hopefully visually walks through how that $25 is paid using overdraft protection. But let me show you actually what's occurring inside of our checking account. This is an actual snapshot of our checking account, or one of them, or I think two of them actually. So the first one, again, this is Bank of America. It's who we bank with. This is a checking account with a fairly low balance. Oh, the only reason there's $177 in this account and not zero is because all of my cash back stuff goes into this account. All of the rewards go into this account, and then I move them. So as of right now, we've got about $177 of cash back that have gone in. But what happens is when I open up this checking account, there's this opportunity here. Balance connect for overdraft protection. What that means is, hey, would you like to connect one of your other accounts such that if this balance is ever zero, there is another account that will draft that your account will draft from. So therefore, it will create a situation where you have overdraft protection. And when you click this manage button, this pops up. And notice on this checking account, this Advantage Plus banking checking account, there is an unlimited cash rewards Visa. Is the overdraft protection card connected to this account? So if this account goes zero for whatever the reason, if there's a bill that comes into this account that can't be paid by the money that's in it, it will immediately pull from this Visa signature credit card. And this is another account that I'm showing. The reason for showing this account is just mainly because most of our bills are addressed by our home equity line of credit. This is a different checking account. Notice the balance is currently zero. So if there's any bill that comes, any auto bill that comes through this checking account, what's going to happen is it's going to be overdraft protected by our first position home equity line of credit. The home equity line of credit will take care of whatever this amount is. And here's one. There was a bill for $1,128.32 that came out of this account.
We can't see it. It's cropped off.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll make it a little bit bigger.
Now I'll cut this off.
So this there's $0 in this account, and the overdraft protection account is this home equity line of credit. There was a payment that came in on 6/13 of 1128.32, and what you're seeing here is overdraft protection from. So overdraft protection from, this is the account number, which is this account number. Overdraft protection from this home equity line of credit is what paid this 1128. Because if you, again, this was the most that I could grab from the picture, but the item below this was this same dollar amount in red, meaning the account had a negative balance of 1128, and then overdraft protection was used for 1128, which then zeroed the balance. Why? Because this home equity line of credit is protecting this account from being overdrafted. So we're using a home equity line of credit in some cases. We're using a credit card in others. Can you pay a credit card with a credit card? That is doing it. Can you pay a mortgage with a credit card? That is doing it. You absolutely can. Now, there's some other questions to be asked here, though. And I think this is a part of the questions that we're addressing today looks like this. One, hey, you can't use a credit card to pay with a credit card. And the other being, why would you even use this process, right? Those are two questions that we're addressing. And we address those questions in comments a lot. I think what's missing is there are other questions that should be asked. Like, I think a valid question to ask is, shouldn't there be overdraft fees? Like, if we're using these accounts to overdraft your checking account, aren't there overdraft fees? And the other is one thing that you very rarely, if ever, hear me talk about. We talk a lot about using a debt tool, and that debt tool can be a credit card. That debt tool can be a line of credit. You very rarely hear me talk about the interest on the tool specifically. And here's why. When your income goes on the debt tool, to me, it doesn't matter what the interest is, because when you put all of your income onto the tool, it satisfies the payment. But there is interest being accrued on the debt tool. So I think a better question to ask isn't, well, I think the question not to ask is, hey, you can't do it. I think a better question to ask is, hey, what are some of the details around when you do it? And one of them would be, hey, what about overdraft fees? And the other being interest on that debt tool. And I want to address both of those.
We have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Mary was asking, what is a debt tool? So I know that probably doesn't break down exactly what a debt tool is. If anybody else has that question too, and you want to do a deep dive, we can maybe do that here in just a moment. Or you can also see a breakdown of the debt tool in many of our Velocity banking case studies. But the other part is, if you want to be a case study, all you got to do is reach out. And I think that kind of paints where Harmony is. I think she probably would make a pretty great case study. So she's saying, so your bank account goes negative every month. So she should see, I think she's asking, so see if my credit card can connect to my checking account. Is that what I do? And that was a question that I was going to ask for everyone is what would you say that they do as like a first steps to try to figure out how they can get out of or connect things in this way. You are using, or we are using, in your showing, Bank of America product connected to a Bank of America product.
Right.
And we've had this question in the comments a lot too. Like, I have all of these checking accounts with different financial institutions. I have credit cards with different people. None of my stuff is like under one house.
Right.
And so, what advice would you give to somebody who probably may not have tools that are all under one house?
Yep. And let's be clear. There's probably 30 credit cards amongst everything that we're doing. Like we use credit a lot for a lot of different things. And not all of those, and again, I'm making up a number, but not all of those 30 credit cards are tied to Bank of America. Like they're all over the place. But I wouldn't expect Discover to be able to link to my Bank of America checking account, right? That's not a logical ask. So when we're talking about linking a tool, a overdraft tool to your checking account, then yes, I think it would make sense that it's a Chase checking account. There should be some Chase credit card that you should be able to link to. And again, I don't want to kind of discount this part right here. This is something that is not something that I asked for. When you go into this account, when you go into this checking account, these are the features associated with this checking account. And one of the things that is offered is an account to link for overdraft protection. So it just so happens that that is an offer that is made by this checking. This is not something that I had to specifically go ask for. It's an opportunity that comes with that specific account. And I would have to believe that other banks probably offer the same thing. I think a challenge would be is if you're used to banking with credit unions. What I know about credit unions is they tend to not offer opportunities for you to be able to link a checking account to it. There may be some out there, just in my experience. I know credit unions are a little bit different, but your big banks, your big major banks, Chase, Bank of America, and so on. I think that's a pretty consistent opportunity for you to be able to link a tool, some type of credit card or home equity line of credit to your account to be able to satisfy any issues with overdraft. Now, as
Real,
I mentioned though,
real quick, do you mind if
yes,
I also want to say this? There have been times when you have called Bank of America, even as big as they are and as versed as they should be in the products that they have and the features for those products that they sell to people, right?
right,
Specifically, even a mortgage. You could get a mortgage with Bank of America, and most of those lenders, most of the people working in that department don't even understand how they work. So there have been so many times where you've been on the phone with your bank educating them on how their products work in order for them to go, "Oh, I didn't know that it did that." So
I
I want to say that because when people go out there and they call their bank and they say, "Hey, what kind of overdraft protection do you have or do you offer for my account?" You might want to look in the fine print and not rely on somebody answering the phone or the person that you're going to go sit in front of who may say, "No, we don't do anything like that." And simply because they've just never used it before, not because it's not there. We have another question if you want to respond.
I'm listening.
Okay. It's from Eliza. She says, "Is there a max dollar limit for overdraft protection in most bank accounts? Do you have to apply for this or qualify for it?" It's a great question.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And I'm going to say I believe it varies. And I think it kind of speaks to this next question of are there any overdraft fees? Because I think it leads right into what we've experienced, and that is we've experienced all facets of this process, meaning, like, are there any overdraft fees? The short answer is yes. And those fees might look like $12 a month Because you're using overdraft protection, every time your account overdrafts, they're going to charge you $12 for that overdraft. I've seen $12 per transaction. So let's say you're overdrafting your account multiple times within the same month. That means that's multiple $12 hits that your checking account is going to take because it's using this tool.
That's
But
credit unions are like that mainly.
absolutely. In our specific situation, when we started Velocity Banking, I was using a credit card and I was getting hit with a $12 a month, what do you call it? $12 a month overdraft charge every month because I had my credit card linked to my checking account and I was using it. And I was accepting that $12 charge every month because what was I doing? I was doing velocity banking trying to get rid of what? Debt. What type of debt? Debt that probably had 24, 22, 36% interest or whatever that dollar amount might be. So that $12 a month I was spending on that overdraft transaction to me was worth it to attack that 22, 16, 24% interest of those other credit cards. So it became a logical move for me. But over time, as we put ourselves in a better financial position, there are these other rules that say, hey, you know what? Between all of your Bank of America accounts, if you maintain a balance of X dollar amount, 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 25 grand, I would have to believe it varies from bank to bank. But because we maintain a certain dollar amount between all of our accounts, those zero uh, balance transfer or those fees associated with having a negative transaction in your account, those fees are all waived. So because we maintain a certain dollar amount, that fee associated with, again, that overdraft fee is waived. So we are no longer charged $12 from anywhere to overdraft our account because the dollar amount within the account stay above a certain dollar amount.
Well, and let's talk about that because the amount of money that you're moving every single month when you call Bank of America and say, "Hey, just checking in. Is there anything you guys want to offer me?" Or, "Hey, just checking in. I had an opportunity and I wanted to see, can I get an extra $25,000?" And they look at your account and go, "Well, heck yeah. You can have that. Absolutely." And sometimes that also becomes a what that could also just become extra leverage. So
Absolutely. I'm
I
notorious for every 3 months calling Bank of America and just asking this simple question: how am I doing? And they'll go, okay, Mr. Stidham, let's look at your account. And I already know what it's going to say, but I let them go through it and I let them come back with all of the accolades. Wow, it looks like you're doing great over here. You've done these things here. And then I simply ask, do you have any offers? And they may go, hey, we've got this 0% opportunity if you do A, B, and C. Okay, I'd like that. Or I go, hey, credit card X that has credit limit Y, would it be possible, based off these accolades you've just given, would it be possible to increase that credit limit? Is that something you guys might be able to do? Usually the response is, how much do you want? And here's where it's a bit strategic because if you ask for too much, you're not going to get it. The key is, and I usually do $5,000 increments. And the objective isn't to then use whatever that new credit limit is. The objective is now that new credit limit makes a change to my debt to income ratio. That new credit limit changes my utilization. If it's using that $100 credit card example, if it's a $100 credit card with a $100 balance due on a $100 limit, and I increase that credit limit to 500, now a what used to be a maxed out credit card is 500. I'm sorry, maxed out credit. What used to be a maxed out credit card is $100. There's now $400 of room. That just changed the credit utilization. That changed all of the math associated with how my credit score is assessed. All by just having the credit limit changed. I didn't change my behavior. I didn't all of a sudden have less money on the credit card. I
or
just
make more
simply,
money.
or make more money. I just simply asked, can we increase the credit limit? Sounds like there's a question.
Yeah. Oh, this is a comment and I love it. We started Velocity Banking 4 weeks ago and already eliminated $8,500 in credit card debt. Just getting our numbers together and getting honest with our money is allowing us to leverage our money. Love this channel. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
appreciate
Creating
that.
Daily. Yeah, I really appreciate this because seeing people put this into action is powerful. But seeing how fast, just 4 weeks, 4 weeks.
Powerful.
Yeah, and they're not making any more money. They're not doing anything different. They didn't get another job. They didn't have to start a side hustle. They didn't have to do any of this stuff. They're utilizing what they currently have right now. They're just restructuring it differently. Think of it like this, because I love a good analogy. Think of it like this. Have you ever moved, like, had your furniture rearranged in a room, and then you
Feng
start,
shui.
no, it's not even feng shui. It's just that you reposition the furniture in the room. You just rearrange the room, and suddenly it flows different, right? The way that
Seems
you
bigger.
access the space, yeah, it seems bigger, right? It's the same furniture though,
Same room.
same room, but somehow it feels different. It flows different. The way that you perceive the space is different, and that's essentially what this is. This is rearranging. We're not saying start a side hustle. Creating Daily says, I'm trying to quit a side hustle. And that's what
Man,
I call you all the time. I call you the
man.
side hustle assassin. Because when you see this and you see what you're able to do, now all of a sudden your time isn't in wasting time doing that first step where your money just goes to die, right?
Right, right. And the key is, again, the purpose of this discussion is not about eliminating debt for me. This is
Right.
the goal here is not to eliminate debt. The goal is to free up cash flow and then put that cash flow to work.
Yes.
Your side hustle needs to become your money making money for you.
Right.
Your money is an employee. Put that employee to work. Put that employee in a position so that that employee makes a side hustle. Not
Right.
you, but you are
Right.
now leading your cash flow to go make money for you. Because what's the ultimate goal? You put your cash flow in a position to make money for you. Soon you get to fire your employer.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the goal.
yeah, and but sometimes I'm the one to say this because of what my health journey has been. Sometimes you don't get the option, and I did not see that coming. I did not, I didn't assume that when I graduated college, I was gonna be come down with chronic illness. I had no idea.
Right.
Would I have gone into taken out student loans if I knew that? Would I have finished college if I would have known that these are the last four like healthy, vibrant years of my life where I could do anything and anything I wanted and I was completely limitless? Would I have spent those years that way if I would have known that? No. I wouldn't have because I can't even use that degree. I got sick and it wasn't my fault and it wasn't anything that I could control.
Right.
And so we don't get to pick all the time.
Right.
This could be your kid gets sick. This could be your parent gets sick. This could be any other factor in this equation where we are not prepared. And you know what's crazy about all this? We are literally guaranteed only one freaking thing in this whole life,
Death.
and it's that it's going to end at some point, and it is the one thing we are the least prepared for. Make it make sense. So this literally using not just your dollar multiple times, being able to use your time and multiply your time in the same way. That's working smarter, not harder. And no one is out here with the hustle mentality. I call myself the anti hustle because I am that lifestyle will burn you out
Right.
faster than it can supply you with success. So that's just to say that we have a couple other questions, if that's okay.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. First, Harmony wants to know, how do I submit my numbers for case study?
Go for it.
Oh, okay. We're gonna also put this up on the screen here in just a little bit, but you go to selfdirected.info. Hold on, I got a thing. Okay, so you can go here, selfdirected.info, and there is a form that you can fill out. We have a ton of free resources that you can also grab 2 free books, a complete video series on wealth building tools so that they're all in one place and that you don't get lost and you can then get all of Donnell's contact information and text him any questions that come up, even while you're watching a video. Just pause, boom, I have a question. Donnell, I need some clarification on this before I move forward. That's how we roll. So just text us, or you can use this number here and send us your information. And then if we need more information from you, we actually have a form, and we've been working on this.
Tool.
It's
It's
a
really a
tool.
tool.
Yeah. It's a Google sheet, a series of like a package, worksheets. What do you call
Workbook.
them? Book, yeah,
Workbook.
workbook. And this will allow you to put in your numbers, and then it'll organize things for you so you can see how velocity banking would work for you, and you can then customize it and structure it accordingly. But this makes it a little bit easier, just because we haven't seen a tool out here who that really does make it easier. This will also make it easier for Donnell to do this assessment with you, which is
Mhm.
free, by the way, just so that he can show you where you can start moving things, like where you can put your couch, right? Which wall could you put your couch on that would have a much better impact? So that's,
And that when I meet with people to discuss velocity banking, that's exactly what it is, a discussion. Because it's my opinion. There's so many layers and so much detail associated with your financial picture that there's not enough forms that you could fill out to be able to, I'll say, clearly lay out what those opportunities are. You can't. So there's some assumptions that have to be made. So therefore, when we meet, it's really a discussion around, hey, here's what the challenges are, and where are some of the opportunities to be able to address this debt in a timely fashion. This is not financial advice. Matter of fact, I was meeting with a lady last week, and what I made very, very clear to her was whether or not you take any of this action is not the point. What I'm sharing with you is here's where the opportunities are that I see. If this was my debt, these are the approaches that I would take. And whether or not you take actions on those is purely and solely up to you, because there are some actions that I am willing to take that maybe you're not. This is a very non-traditional approach to addressing debt, which means I will take some very non-traditional actions to address some debt. That is not me advising you that you should do the same. What I'm sharing with you is my opinion, and my opinion on how to go about it.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I just had up Creating Daily said, 100%, you guys got me thinking about how to leverage my money, not just make money, changed my life
That's it.
and
That's
your
it.
future. Yeah. And that's all we can. So we had to get this information from somewhere, right? Like we were on a journey, and we just had one of these pieces at a time, and we just kept adding them. He says, next, now you hit non-infinite banking, my next move, man. And I say this all the time. There are levels to this. You do have to be prepared for some of these to move on to the next level, some of them. But infinite banking is not one of them. Wealth building, that's why I say velocity banking is not a wealth strategy. Infinite banking is a wealth strategy.
Can be.
Can be.
How you?
With the
It's called
proper,
infinite for a reason. There are infinite ways to be able to use this cash flow. And some of those ways can absolutely be wealth building. Some of those ways are not.
yeah. But if you are not building the vehicle to do infinite banking with,
It matters.
you're not going to do it if you wait until you're done with velocity banking. That's the problem, is you cannot go back. I keep saying that, but you cannot go back. Time is your most valuable asset. And you can't go back and start it and say, oh, dang it, I wish I would have known that, because then it would already be ready.
Let me restate what you just said because I think it's very important. I run into a lot of people who say, "Man, when I pay off my home, then I'm going to start putting this money that I was paying off my home with and dump it into this vehicle that can start producing me um, retirement income, and I can launch this wealth objective." Right? Think about that. For most people, it takes anywhere from 10 to 15 years to pay off a home, if not 30. So what you're saying is, I'm not going to start building wealth until 10 to 15 years from now. All you're doing is getting older. Your compound cycles, meaning the amount of time it takes for your money to double one time, is solely dependent on time. So in 10 years, in 15 years, you've lost two, if not three compound cycles. which means you've lost 2 to 3 opportunities for your money to double.
Right.
But imagine if you started 3 compound cycles sooner with maybe even a less or more modest amount. At least at a minimum, that vehicle has started to churn, that machine has started to build momentum. Time is started to take hold. And now you're starting to see the fruits of the labor of this machine. Now, it's not as much as you would hope, but it's at least building. And then when that debt is paid off, and then when that home is paid off, if that's the goal, that mortgage is no longer there, and you dump that additional money in there, you just supercharged a machine that's already been building over the last 10 to 15 years versus starting from zero.
Yeah, no doubt. So Harmony says, "Thank you. I think my issue is trying to do it on my own, and I need another set of eyes."
Happy to help.
This, yeah, this
Happy to help.
really made me think of something though. If you're the person in your family or in your circle who is just now jumping into velocity banking and no one else is doing this, when she was saying like it's hard trying to do it on my own, it is also hard to not have a community of people around you who aren't also doing the same thing because they're going, "What the heck are you doing? Why would you do this? This sounds crazy." I'm going to tell you right now, when my husband came home and he was like, "Look, this is what we're doing. Everything's going through the credit cards." What? Like, how does that make sense? And then he kept saying, "Oh, I got another $25,000." And I was like, "What are you doing? Like, how is this helping anything? Like, getting farther into debt?" My mindset and my programming, of course, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was like, math ain't math. And I can't see the value in what it is you're doing, but we're married, so I guess if we're gonna sink, we're gonna sink together. I'm committed. If you really believe in this, I believe in you. So if you're saying that this is an answer that I'm just not seeing something, then help me understand.
And that's
Once
the
I
key.
saw it,
It's the education part. Help me
yeah,
understand is the key. It's not a this is what we're doing because I said so. It
yeah.
is this is what we're doing because mathematically it makes sense. Now, let me show you the math.
Yeah. Once I saw it, I could not unsee it. And that's the part where I went, first I went, "You could do this?" Like,
Is this legal?
yeah. Then I said, "Is this legal? You could do this?" And you're like such a not you're not a risk taker. So, and you don't like to spend a lot of time on things. So I was like, "Okay, I this feels strange to me, but I could see how this is a hack." When within 6 months we were 200 months ahead on our mortgage. Take the wheel. Just take it. Just take the wheel. Now, other family members, friends, whatnot, they know that we're doing this. We're happy to talk about it. We're not shouting it from the mountaintops to everybody that we meet, of course. We're not shoving it down people's throats. You guys that are here, it's because you want to
You
learn
choose
this
to.
information. Yeah. But when you're out there talking to your friends and family and you're trying to explain to them, like, this is what I'm doing, and they're meeting you with, really, this is what you're doing. You just have to know, because you have to be able to see the vision. If you don't see the vision, it is easy to get distracted, and it is easy to get kind of thrown off course. And that's where these strategies are dangerous, because if you are not committed, then you could end up in a worse situation. And so that's why I think being able to see the bigger picture and being able to fully see, like, this is where I'm going, see it on paper, understand your strategy, be able to, like, you're checking boxes on these milestones that you know are coming for you and that you know are hitting, but in addition, not just passing by those pit stops to stop and pick up more tools and like supercharge your journey. Like for us, throwing the concept of velocity banking at our home, throwing the concept of velocity banking at our retirement fund, that is essentially, it all comes down to this. This is the foundation for it all. So I brought up Harmony's comment because she says just trying to do it on her own is really difficult. And I think sometimes it is easier to do it with a partner, because then you have the confidence, you have somebody else on board with you. Like, yes, we've been thinking about this, because we get so many people in the comments that I think feel the same way. I think they're kind of feeling like, hey, I'm just kind of a lone stranger out here, and I would love to be able to network and understand other people who are doing this strategy too, so that if somebody else banks with the bank that I bank with, and we are learning something, we can all learn and grow together. If you're interested in joining, even if it's just like a Facebook group or something that we could start, this, I think this would be benefit so many different people, but we're not going to start it and try to get it going if no one's interested. So I think we'll just kind of throw that out there for now and say, is this something that you're down for? Because we have so many people calling for consultations with Donnell about this, I think it would help others to learn and understand how to get this going too. So if we were able to do that inside of the group with other people knowing that they are there to learn, I think it would feel different too. So let us know if you're interested in that.
So I want to make sure we don't lose sight of the two questions though.
Okay.
So if it's okay, again, the first one was about the the word keeps escaping me, but it's about the fees associated with having a tool in place to for overdraft. So it's, are there fees associated with the overdraft? Hopefully I've addressed that. In most cases, yes, but there is a way to eliminate that. But let's say you can't even link your checking account to, or you can't link a debt tool to your checking account. There are other tools out there like plastic. There's other tools out there that will allow you to be able to. Matter of fact, what the way it works is you put all of your income onto a tool like plastic, and plastic then writes the check from those tools. Now, there's a cost associated with that, but that's also where you identify whether those fees associated with doing those things make sense or not, and that's
Right.
per individual.
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to make sure we address though is also kind of, I never bring up the debt on the debt tool. I'm sorry, the interest being created on the debt tool. I never bring this up because from my perspective, I don't know that it matters. So what I also wanted to do, the other question that I think is the right question to be asked as it relates to velocity banking is, what do you do, or how do you address, or is the debt tool impacted by interest? And depending on the type of tool you use, the answer is absolutely it is. And so, kind of, if you go back to the screen, that interest on the debt tool, again, using the exact same examples that we've been using, the exact same. If there's income coming in of $100 and you have two bills, those two bills being the mortgage, $25, and a credit card of $25. But let's provide a little bit more context. The balance on that credit card, as I mentioned, $100. It's maxed out. The limit on that credit card is $100. Again, it's maxed out. But there's a minimum due. The minimum on that credit card that's due, let's just call it $10, which means that's a principal and interest payment. The minimum due is $10. There's a principal of, let's just call it $5, and an interest payment of also $5. So in total, that principal interest payment is now 10. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. Well, how does this process work if you have a minimum payment due on your debt tool and you dump all of your income on it? Like, what does that actually look like? And again, very, very simple. You have $100 going in. When that $100 goes into your debt tool, that addresses the payment, right? That addresses that payment of, again, the balance is $100. When all of your income goes into that debt tool, theoretically, the balance is now zero.
We make it
Theoretically.
we make it bigger.
Is that better?
Well, but move it over to the right a little because we can't see it. Okay, I guess
Let me do this real quick.
it's an OCD nightmare right now. Okay, just like a little bit over to the right, we could see the whole thing. Okay, that's good.
So again, $100 going onto the debt tool. What that ultimately means is that balance of $100 has now been addressed by a payment of $100, which means that balance is theoretically zero. But that's not 100% true, because as I mentioned over here, And I guess the easiest thing for me to do would be write it under so I don't have to move it over. The truth is, yes, the balance due is 100. Yes, that's the balance due. When I put that payment of $100 on, that payment is actually made up of $2 amounts. There's a principal payment of $95 and there's an interest payment of $5. That's what's actually happening here. And so what that ultimately means is when we follow this process, what's actually left on that debt tool is $5. That debt tool is not zero. That debt tool is not zero when you put all of your income onto the debt tool. There's a portion that went to principal and there's a portion that went to interest. That amount that went to interest is left on the debt tool. Does that $5 still prevent me from using the same dollar twice? Absolutely not, because there's $95 of room on the debt tool. So when I pay my mortgage from the debt tool, that balance now went from $5 back up to $30. Do I care? Because the next month, when I get another $100 and I dump it onto the debt tool, guess what happened? It all went away. So my point is this. The question that should be asked is, hey, what about the interest on the debt tool? I don't speak to it, and most people who do velocity banking don't, because if you follow this process and you're putting all of your income onto the debt tool, it takes care of this $5 of interest that's left over, whatever that percentage is, 10%, 1%, 22%, whatever that amount is. When you put all of your income onto the debt tool, it's addressed by the income itself. And so therefore, I personally don't account for it because I don't have to. But it is true that it does live, meaning the once you pay the interest, that means all of your money that you're putting on the debt tool isn't eating up all of the balance that is due. There's a portion that is left. That's the only point that I wanted to make there.
Okay. Well, the other point is that you're paying less because the cash flow is sitting on the debt tool. So you're paying less in interest because your balance is lower. So you're saving there
Right.
off the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other part is doing the assessment of what are the fees associated with, putting or implementing this type of strategy, especially with like overdraft protection and things like that. And then what is compare it to what is the amount of interest that you would be paying if you just paid the minimum payment, or if you let this debt kind of like live out its whatever that time period would be
Term.
into, yeah, its term.
And
So no
well, I was
different
just going
from,
to say, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's where I go back to, if we continue doing things the same way we've always done them, we'll continue getting the same results. Velocity banking is just one different approach to addressing a problem. If you don't need velocity banking, don't use velocity banking. But if you're looking for an opportunity to be able to get multiple uses out of the same dollar, if you're looking for an opportunity to be able to address your debt faster than maybe it's being addressed today, this is that approach, right? This is that opportunity where you're able to focus all of your attention on one item, because this is compared to the snowball method, right? This is not the snowball method.
Right.
This allows you to be able to focus your attention on one item while you're paying the minimums on everything else. Once you make room, then you're at chunking away at this other debt, which allows you to pay it off faster.
Okay, I don't like, there's one thing that you said that just made me think of something else. And it was, if you don't need to retire early, I'm just going to rephrase and put it in a different category, because I think everybody can benefit from these types of systems, including like the
I agree.
cashback and the other things that come from it. Why not? Why would you not take advantage of all of that?
I,
That's
I
the
don't,
only
I
time
can't.
something literally is going to be an extra or an excess to what you like. Doing it the other way doesn't really serve you or anybody else. So keeping your money in the bank, if you didn't know, was just a loan, free loan to the bank. So there's no benefit there for you necessarily, but having cash back, those kinds of benefits at minimum, even if you don't have debt and you're just using it just for the building your credit even, this is a hell of a way to build credit. Here's the part that got brought up for me. let's apply this to a different topic. If you don't need to retire early, then don't. Put your money in these 401k and IRAs and whatever other program that your job is offering you. Like they're being so nice and offering this to you, and take your chances. If you're going to be able to actually quit, stop working one day and have enough to live out for the rest of your life, I don't know if you're prepared, if you can like pull it up really fast or something, but I think this would be really important because this is the whole reason for getting up here and talking about velocity banking, because it's not a wealth strategy. uh, Being able to free up your cash flow so that you can start building wealth. This is the point. So are you in a position to show what that difference would look like? Like, let's take just somebody who's been in our comments, for instance, they've crushed $8,500 in debt. I don't know how many payments that has freed up, but let's just say they have now $300 that is freed up for them per month that they are not making payments on anymore, and that could be going into a
Secure compound interest account.
yeah,
Yep, pretty easy. I'll pull
okay.
it up.
Because that is the point of everything that we're talking about here. If you're not this is the strategy, right? This is the goal. Where are we going? Where are you going? And what is it that you can do leveraging this? Could you spend 30 years paying off your house? You absolutely could. Or you could pay it off in 5 to 7 years and take the rest of the money you're not paying to the bank and leverage that to be able to build a wealth machine for yourself. So hold on one second. Let me put you in here. Go ahead. There you go.
Got the calculator.
Yep.
So
And if
kind of
anybody would like their numbers ran too, I think this would be the time to do that. They can see.
to simply set the stage, you've got a 25-year-old who has now eliminated $8,500 of debt in a short span of time. And the thought process is, hey, now what do I do with this cash flow? And maybe it's not a significant amount of cash flow. I think $300 a month is a good number. 25 years old, I just freed up $300 a month and I'm no longer paying to some credit company or some other bill that is doing nothing for me. What do I do with this $300 a month? Most of us allow that $300 a month to sit in your checking account, building over time, and then you take a trip or you do other things. The piece that is missing is, how do I get this $300, put this $300 rather in a position to be able to start working for me? And that's where a secure compound interest account comes into play. So let's say you're 25 years of age. And I'm going to build this out to 65. I'm not saying that you have to wait till 65 to touch your money. I just want to show you what $300 a month would do if you just allowed it to work for you. Again, $2,500 a month till age 65. By age 65, which is the traditional retirement age that most people won't admit that they have to wait till to be able to retire.
And most
By,
people can't.
right. By age, hold on, give me just a minute. By age 65, you would have available to you $131,000 tax-free for life. But let's say you took that same $300 and put it in a 401k. So what does it look like compared to traditional retirement? So this is a secure compound interest account. You've put in $144,000 from age 25 to age 65. That same $144,000 could also go into a 401k or your IRA, or for that matter. Inside one vehicle, you've got $1.4 million. Inside a traditional retirement account, you're still a millionaire. You've got $1 million. But look at the difference in income. There is no comparison. Why? The vehicles are drastically different. How the vehicles generate income, drastically different. As I mentioned, a secure compound interest account is a life insurance based product. Well, what this is saying is, if something were to happen to you around age 65, you would have a death benefit payout to your beneficiaries of around $2.1 million. Would you have the same thing if you took that $300 a month and dumped it into a traditional retirement account? The answer is no. And that's if you waited till 65. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting you can't touch your money early. I'm not suggesting that you do anything other than allow your money to compound and use it as a vehicle that you can be able to leverage. What does this look like earlier than 65?
Well, hold on. We have a question.
I saw it. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But what if you do this earlier than 65? What does it look like at 55? Again, I'm not saying that you can retire off putting away $300 a month and allowing it to compound for 30 years till age 55. But if I walked up behind you on your 55th birthday and gave you a tax-free check of $58,000, would you be upset with me? Like if you had a vehicle that you put away $300 a month and that vehicle is building uninterrupted compound interest, and by age 55, which is, just so we're clear, 4 years before you can legally retire with an IRA, a 401k, a 403b, a TSP, a government 457 plan. So 4 years before you can legally retire with any of those vehicles, I gave you $58,000 tax free. What could you do with that? What other bills could you pay? And to the question that was asked, let me go back to age 65. To the question that was asked, what about a Roth 401k? I love that. So what that's saying is, hey, we're going to take that same $300 a month and take this 144,000 and let it build inside of a Roth 401k. What that means is, just so we're clear, the 401k is building for you and is building in a Roth fashion, which means when you go to take a distribution, that's a tax-free distribution. The problem with that, though, is the distributions out of all traditional retirement accounts, to include Roth IRA or Roth 401k, is based off this thing called the Trinity study, which is based off this thing called the 4% rule. What that means is, regardless of what you have in your nest egg, the max you can take out so that you don't run out of money, this is put in place to protect you. The max that you can take out so you don't run out of money is 4%. So let's call it a Roth 401k, building tax free. You're a millionaire. The max you can take out is $42,000. You're a millionaire, but the max you can take to live off is $42,000. And yes, it's $42,000 tax free. Awesome. We should all be striving to live in a Roth environment. I think that is the right approach. So a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, thumbs up. But there are vehicles out there that instead of 4% in income that you're taking on an annual basis, this is 1.4 million. This is 131,000. That's closer to what? A little over 9%, which is better. 9% in income compared to 4% in income. They're both tax free. This is 131,000 tax free for the rest of your life, potentially. So they're both tax free. So whether it's a Roth IRA or Roth 401k compared to a secure compound interest account, they're both building Roth dollars. I focus on income. Again, I'm a retirement planner. I focus very little on net worth. I focus heavily on how much income does that produce. And so I think a Roth 401k is great. Again, I create them. I create IRAs and 401ks, both Roth and traditional. So I understand them fairly well. I don't think they're bad tools. The issue is where they're located. The issue with IRAs and 401ks isn't that the retirement vehicles are bad. It's that if it's sitting with a current employer, sitting with Vanguard or Fidelity or some other custodian that doesn't allow you to fully control your retirement dollars to grow them, that's the problem. So the opportunity might be to take that Roth IRA, that Roth 401k, and maybe self-direct it, as the shirt says. Self-direct that Roth IRA or that 401k to be able to put those dollars in a position to where you get them out of the market so they're not subject to market performance, which means you have more control over being able to put that money to work and maybe buy investment properties, buy physical gold. Like there's many different things you can do with your retirement dollars to be able to overcome this 4% rule. But if we're talking about a traditional retirement account with your employer, you cannot beat the 4% rule. And this vehicle is a set it and forget it. In order to beat the 4% rule inside of a self-directed IRA or 401k, you have to actively invest it. You have to actively move that money where it needs to go in order to exceed or beat the performance of a traditional retirement account. I have a lot of clients who are more than capable of controlling their own retirement dollars and putting them in the right vehicle. I can set you up with that structure with no problem. But as it relates to a secure compound interest account like MPI, this is a set it and forget it. And I think I saw the question. The question asked is this similar to an IUL?
Yeah, she's saying her next comment is she contributes $1,000 a month into her IUL.
How old is she?
I think it's Zenalee is her name, and I don't know. She looks pretty young, so
So
you're looking
let
good,
me
girl.
make up an age. Let me call you 30. And you are
Oh,
30
dang,
years
she said
old.
she's 47. No way.
Okay, let's call it 47.
Can we all vote on that in the comment section? She does not look 47.
Let's call it 47. And again, what I know about 47-year-olds, because I used to be one, what I know about 47-year-olds is, and I think you would agree with me, we don't have as many compound cycles as our 20-year-old counterparts, whether they're our children or people that just get on our nerves. We don't have as many compound cycles. And so being 47, you have to be a bit aggressive. And I think she's absolutely taking an aggressive approach to be able to build wealth. $1,000 a month is a really good amount, but we have to give that money time. And what does $1,000 a month look like inside of a vehicle like this? Well, by age 65, we're talking $57,000 tax free for the rest of your life. We're talking about a cash value or a nest egg, accumulated cash value of almost $500,000. So almost $500,000, income of about 57,000 tax free for life. And this is a max funded option B policy. MPI is the foundation of MPI is an IUL. So product wise, we're talking about similar products. The difference between your IUL and a product like this is really simple. Inside of your IUL, you would have contributed the same $216,000. And this $260,000 is growing on average at 7%. The difference between an IUL and MPI is, in addition to this 216,000, there is about 996,000 of leverage that you're able to benefit from, meaning you're creating an arbitrage situation where you're making approximately 3% on this 996,000 compared to 207% on this 216,000. The growth on this dollar amount plus the growth on this dollar amount is what's building this $500,000. Inside of an IUL, you don't have this. So how do you double or more than double this 216 inside of an IUL? It's very difficult. The short answer is you can't. So the growth inside of your IUL would probably look more like this 216,000 being more like maybe 300,000. So there's growth, but that growth doesn't translate to the same or similar amount of income. So the income inside of this NIUL might look more like 37,000, 35,000 compared to 57,000 by the age of 65. And I'll make another comment about this, the time frame that this money has been allowed to compound. This is saying from age 47 to 65. What if you gave that same money more time? And I'm not saying you can't leverage your money. I'm just saying, what if we just simply give this dollar amount a little bit more time? I am not wishing anyone to have to wait till 72 to touch their money. I just want to show you what time does. It takes a $57,000 tax-free income and turns it into $117,000. That nest egg now is $1 million compared to $500,000 just by allowing your money more time. But that's inside of a vehicle like this. What does that look like inside of an IUL? Again, this $300,000 using leverage of 1.8 million is what allows you to create cash value of $1 million. But inside of an IUL, you do not have this opportunity. So because you don't have this opportunity, how does $300,000 become $1 million? It's virtually impossible, which means this dollar amount is also virtually impossible.
Without a product like MPI.
Without a properly structured premium finance strategy, also known as MPI, maximum premium indexing. And I think that kind of leads into what we were initially wanting to cover today, which was this number looks great. If I'm the young lady that kind of mentioned the $1,000 a month, this vehicle compared to an IUL looks awesome. the question that's not being answered is how? Like, how is it possible that her IUL can't do this? And I want to sincerely apologize for us not being able to address that today, but that is absolutely our focus. It is how. How is it possible that a vehicle like this can produce income two, if not three times that of an IUL, and two, if not three times that of a traditional retirement account? How? How is that even possible? I swear to you, that's where we're headed. I swear to you, I am already ready with the visuals, or some of them at least, to be able to walk you through that. But today we just wanted to address some of the questions that we've been getting around velocity banking so that you can, I guess, head down your velocity banking journey a little bit easier, a little bit more efficient, knowing that those answers to your questions are true. We are actually absolutely doing them ourselves with what it is we're doing in our approach to velocity banking. We're using the same tools, we're taking the same approaches, and we are absolutely getting multiple uses out of the same dollar. So we just wanted to take an opportunity to address those. But I agree, the next step has to be, how is it I can make a claim like a vehicle like this using the same dollar amount over the same period of time can produce 2 to 3 times more income? Like, that has to be addressed. And I guarantee I'll do it.
Yeah, and so that is what we're going to cover next week and or on Wednesday. Sorry, not next week. We live stream twice a week, Sundays and Wednesdays. This is, I just want to mention this. Sometimes you give this example and you go out 10 years. Like if you were to work another 10 years, give your money more time.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side to that is not getting started sooner. So when you're saying you could work longer, what I'm saying is the reason for velocity banking is to set the current age at a lower number than when you think, oh, I'll wait till I do this and then get started. You're saying I will push that number out, which essentially would mean you would have to push out the ending number, your retirement age. But if you were to say 65, same thing, and you were to just drop 10 years off, which is if somebody was aggressively trying to pay off their house or aggressively trying to pay off a sizable amount of debt, even if they're making extra payments, it still could take them 10 years to do versus a aggressive velocity banking strategy could take someone 5 to 7 years. Even adding 3 years, even adding 5 more years to this process and starting sooner is the whole point of why this is a part of our machine, because it allows us and it affords us not just the flexibility, because it is super flexible. It not just allows us to customize this based on how our lifestyle, our family changes all the time, but it also allows us the leverage to be able to start feeding a machine like this sooner. And that's the point that I wanted to make.
Yeah, you're spot on with the earlier part, meaning taking an example like this, and what if at age 40 that $1,000 had started? Oh, hold on, that is absolutely not correct. At age 40, there we go. Notice 7 years earlier would produce what, double the income in essence. And but what if instead of not only starting earlier, maybe the $1,000 a month isn't available? What if that looked more like $600 a month? It's still, again, starting earlier with less money produces more income because you're giving your money more time. The key is time and commitment. Regardless of what your dollar amount is, again, to your point, do I want to become debt free before I start something like this? I always, my comment is always around cash flow. What is your cash flow? If your cash flow is anywhere, if you're anywhere cash flow positive and you have money sitting there doing nothing for you, how can you put that money to work? What is the fastest way you can get that money to work for you? And here's why I say that. Let's say at age 47, after putting away $600 a month, at age 47, an issue occurs. An issue occurs where, you know what? I need 10 grand to address a bill. I need $20,000 to put down on my dream home. I need leverage in order to be able to take care of an event. Well, this is a savings plan. not an investment plan, a savings plan, meaning the cash value you've accumulated is accessible to you
She's at,
always.
she's asking, can you do this for kids? Well, you could leverage that to front load a policy for your kids.
Absolutely. And what goes along with can you do it for kids is what's the earliest you can do this for kids? And the earliest is 14 days. So absolutely you can do an account like this for children because again, this is a life insurance product. So once your child has a social security number, you are able to do a vehicle like this. And what does doing a vehicle like this for a child actually achieve? Because a lot of people think the only thing you can do for a child prior to well, along the lines of creating secure uninterrupted compound interest for them to be able to leverage at some point is the dreadful 529 plan or one of those Gerber policies. How does this compare to a 529 plan? Well, a vehicle like this allows you to use it for whatever you want, whereas a 529 plan is limited to what you can use it for, meaning it has to be used for schools. But the short answer to your question is absolutely.
And I love what she's saying here, that she doesn't have kids, but she wants to be able to help a particular child. And I think this would be the most amazing thing. Can you imagine? We always say this all the time, Donnell and I. If we knew that this was possible, first of all, it wasn't even available when our kids were small, so it
Right.
wasn't available.
Right.
But can you imagine putting in and just show them $100 a month for a baby, age 1 to age 21? What $100 a month would do for someone if they were able to leverage this at such a small, young age, and what they would be walking out with. And now, ever before he shows this number,
Too late.
oh, okay, before put 40, go back to 40. Before he shows this number, think back, think forward, turning 40, and this is the leverage that you would have in your life that you can use at any time for whatever it is that you want.
At $100 a month, it would have been a contribution of about 46,000 over that 39-year period. That 46,000 over that 39-year period plus additional leverage of about 590,000, meaning on average you're making around 7% on your money, plus around 3% on the money that's being leveraged. These $2 amounts, the growth on these $2 amounts would create a net worth, a cash value of almost $300,000. That $300,000 at age 40 translates to about 34,000 tax-free in income, all off putting away $100 a month. Starting sooner allowed that money to compound to a point where it's created a vehicle for you that you're able to leverage and use for whatever you want. And now this does become your retirement vehicle. And oh, I didn't mean to do that. And it allows you to dictate when that retirement age happens. So if you wanted to retire at 55, how about retiring at age 55 with $125,000 tax free, all because your parents decided when you were born to put away $100 a month?
I need
Like
a
show me another vehicle that could accomplish this. It just does not exist.
I need some sound effects for this, and I wasn't prepared for that mic drop. Golly. Okay, we have other questions coming in, and I know that we're almost pushing 2 hours now. So, one, just know that we are going to break down why this is so different. We're going to break down how your money makes money inside of
Inside of a
this.
vehicle. Yes.
Yep. We're going to break down all of that. If you don't want to wait though till Wednesday, you don't have to, because we have it all on video. So that's the best part. Let's see, much better than the CDs they bought. Yes. And your money's not locked up. You can access it at any time. That's really the game changing factors about this is all of these other traditional systems only work. We covered on our last live stream high yield savings accounts and IULs, and they're like rebranding some of these IULs as like hybrid accounts with an insurance company. But the point is that the only advantage that they have, the only thing that they can kind of put out as their shining star is access to having leverage and being able to use it for whatever you want, unlike a 529 plan, which we've also covered. So if you're kind of shopping around on our YouTube page, then you'll see all of these topics. And we've kind of gone and done deep dives on all of them. And some of them have case studies so that they're kind of more like a story than just figures and facts thrown at you. So that's, we've made it nice. And everyone said that they really liked it. So if you're, give us the feedback. We want the feedback. Okay, hold on one second. We have Mortgage Hacker. Thank you guys for all the videos you create. I'm just starting my journey with Velocity Banking. Great videos as always. Thank you so much for that feedback. Again, we love it.
Hold on, mortgage hacker though. Mortgage hacker to me implies that person probably understands the first position in HELOC as well.
Yeah, I would think so. Put it in the comment if you do. I would love to know. We got to go check out their channel and see
Mortgage
what,
hacker, I like that.
yeah, what they've got over there. We have some velocity banking questions. So what I think is happening is that we have people who have started the live stream over to replay. And so they can see that we're still live and the chat is still open, but they are actually asking a question about something that we referred to a little bit while ago. Do you want to still address that?
I have nothing but time. I'm not hungry right now, so we're good.
Okay. All right. Mrs. J says, can you address how to deposit into your debt to getting paid every 2 weeks, your debt tool?
Okay. So, and I think because you're right. Usually what I talk about is taking your income, dumping it into your tool, and then paying debt from that tool. The assumption there is this is a monthly activity. But you're right. Not everyone gets paid one time a month. A lot of people get paid 4 times a month. And so, but the concept is still the same. All of your income is going onto your debt tool. And when all of your income goes onto your debt tool, you are paying bills from that debt tool. And one of the things that we didn't address today, but we've addressed on other videos and other lives, and that is when you pay those debts matter as well. Meaning, if you're paying from your debt tool a credit card, are you paying it on or before the what do you call it, statement close date, or are you paying it from the due date? When you pay those debts matter because how they register to the credit card company is based off when that debt is paid. So if you're being paid every 2 weeks and you're waiting for those 2 weeks to accumulate enough cash flow inside of your inside of your debt tool to be able to address your debt, then when you pay those debts matter, which means every 2 weeks you may pay a certain number of debts or a certain number of expenses, and then in the next 2 weeks you may pay another number of expenses based off when those statement and close dates occur. So I don't know if that fully answered the question, but the bottom line is I do understand and I agree that when you get paid and how you get paid matters, but the end of it all is all income going onto the debt tool. And depending on the type of debt tool you're using, that process could be a challenge as well. We kind of just what we were walking through with some of that, but I do agree that those of us who get paid on a sporadic basis, when that income goes onto the debt tool, what does that look like? And it's just as you get it, it goes on to the debt tool.
Yeah, because it doesn't serve you sitting in a checking account.
Right.
Truly.
Absolutely.
And for those cash people who want access to their cash and they want to make sure that they have it, I think diving into understanding velocity banking will really help that shift of being able to see that it's not actually serving you to keep your cash and to not have it be sitting crushing your debt, which I did put the fist in there that it was like crushing the debt. Did you guys get it? The visuals, man, it's my job. I'm trying to kill it at
I
this.
love
I'm
it.
trying to be great at visuals. Okay, we have a couple other questions. Creating Daily says, I'm curious if I balance transfer from one card to another, does it close the account I transferred from or penalize that account in any way? It's a great question.
I think it depends. Most credit card companies, if you leave a zero balance on a credit card at this the state of the economy that we're in. I've been hearing about a lot of people who paid off a card and then the credit card company reduced the credit limit or even closed the card, right? So I think it really depends on the vehicle that you're referencing. But should it automatically close just because, or should something happen automatically just because you paid off the balance? No, absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, when I'm getting close to that 20, 10, 15, 8% balance left, I immediately call that credit card company because I want my credit limit increased. Because I'm trying, because again, this is all strategic for me. I'm not having them increase the credit limit because I'm going to use it. I'm having them increase because it improves my utilization, which in turn help my credit score, which I use my credit score as a tool. Just, you didn't ask, but I use the credit score as a tool. And that tool means my credit score is great one day and it's bad another day. When I say bad, it's less than what it was previously because I use it as a tool. I intentionally get my credit score to a point so that I can make a purchase, knowing that when I make that purchase, my credit score is going to drop. But then I do infinite banking to get it back. But I am not concerned about it unless I am intentionally trying to make a purchase. So my credit score is a tool, just like the credit card that I use for Velocity Banking. It's all just a tool. And the key is to use that tool to benefit you.
Yeah. And this is how you become your own bank. So essentially, what he's saying is the reason why we're chunking down, we're going back up, is because did that mess up?
No, you're fine.
Okay, is because we are able to leverage now in a different way, that now we have literally become our own bank. And so instead of being at the mercy of the banks and what they have to offer us, we get to use our money how we want it, and we get to use the banks the way they use people. So your money sitting in your checking account is a free loan to the bank, and they just loan your money out infinite amount of times, right? In a sense, what we're doing is now we're getting free loans from the bank and from other creditors, and we go out and make money with that money, and then there's nothing they can do to stop us because these programs exist, these offers exist. They don't know what you're going to use it for. They don't care what you're using it for. In their mind, this is how they make money because people aren't using it in this way. They know
Our
it's
goal
possible.
Our goal is to peel back the curtain on life insurance companies, banks, financial advisors, financial institutions. And it's not that they're bad. I'm not here to bash any of them. My whole goal is just to help you understand that they've been leveraging you all of our life. Why not turn around and do the exact same thing? Let's leverage them. Let's put
Yeah.
ourselves in a position to where we can use their tools to be able to achieve our goals. For instance, I think there was a comment up there around a HELOC, using a HELOC.
Yeah.
The whole objective, when you call a bank even asking for a HELOC, let's start there. When you call a bank or a credit union asking for a HELOC, they're going to do everything they can to shift you from that HELOC to a mortgage.
Everything,
Everything.
including telling you it's not possible.
How about this? They're going to tell you the product doesn't exist.
Ooh, yeah.
I was told by Bank of America they do not offer the product we have today.
No, you
But it's mainly
do.
because the people who were offering me that product, what's their job? They have a quota to meet. They have a job to do. Their job is to sell me whatever the products they have on their list sitting on their desk.
Right.
If the product that I'm asking for isn't on their list, from their perspective, it must not exist. And so the key is to know what questions to ask, know what layers to peel back with the people that you're talking to, because what will happen is you will call that bank expecting to be able to take action like what we're communicating, and they will respond to you and go, hey, but what we can do is save you 2% on your interest rate of your mortgage. Why don't you just refinance that? And it's very difficult because our assumption is these institutions have our back. These institutions know what's best because this is their job. And so it's very difficult to counter someone saying, no, you don't want a HELOC. What you really want to do is do this. And here's all that money that you will save. What's their objective? What's their goal? When you peel those layers back, what do they achieve by you taking advantage of these tools that they're trying to share with you? How much money do they make? And I think that's
Well,
the piece where at a minimum, we just want to make sure we get to the point where we're able to leverage these institutions the way these institutions have been leveraging us.
If you have seen the Wells Fargo documentary, that's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life, because these people were not answering the phone. They were not giving these answers to clients and to members because they wanted to. They were giving these answers and they were selling these products because if they did not, they would not be able to feed their families. That was, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. The Wells Fargo documentary and what was happening over there is a whole fiasco. And on top of that, the next question I want to bring up is in return in as it relates to the retirement gamble. So that documentary from Frontline PBS, they did an amazing job of painting this out. The retirement gamble, we cover it a lot on this channel. A lot of our shorts cover this documentary too, because it's shocking to see what is actually allowed out here in these financial advisory streets. I don't know, is that what we're calling it? We're
These
calling it that
advisory
now.
streets. I like that.
What's allowed and what's legal. And to Donnell's point, the amount of trust that we have in these financial institutions. Also, these are part of our goals to be able to qualify for these products and to be able to be seen as trustworthy in this sense. It makes us feel good. And when we don't understand what game we're playing, that we're playing a game that was never designed for us to win. It's a scary place to be when you realize you're already 20, 30 years into that game and you have already put all your chips on the table, and somebody else is not only the dealer, but they get to make the decisions. They get to call. They get to make all of those decisions for you. And then at the end, you're just hoping that you'll win. The numbers that you just showed are exactly where most people get. They have $1 million in those accounts. You didn't point it out, but I hope everybody could see that there was $1 million sitting in those accounts, and you could still only take $40,000 a year in income. You're a millionaire, and that's why people are downsizing. So the retirement gamble is a great documentary. Go check that out too. It's completely free here on YouTube. But here's the next question: can you roll a 401k into an MPI?
Great question. So, 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, TSPs, government 457 plans are all in the same bucket of stuff. These are all retirement accounts. They kind of function off the 401 code, all controlled by the IRS, and all have stipulations associated when you can or can't take your money. MPI is a life insurance based product, functions under a different IRS code. And the foundation of it is an IUL, no different than a whole life, variable life, universal life, index universal life. They're all functioning in the same bucket. You can move IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs amongst each other all day long, penalty free, tax free. You can move IULs and annuities and MPI plans around amongst each other all day long, tax free, penalty free. But you can't move a retirement product like a 401k or an IRA into a life insurance product without addressing the taxes and the fees. And in some cases, you can get rid of the penalties, the fees, but the taxes is a given. You have to address the taxes. I get a lot of clients who ask, "Hey, I've got $50,000 sitting in my 401k. Should I take this $50,000, take the tax and penalty hit, and move that into MPI? Does that mathematically work better for me?" As a licensed fiduciary, I can't, in good conscience and good faith, tell you it's okay to take tax and penalty hit on your retirement dollars to be able to move your money into an MPI, a premium finance strategy like MPI. I can't, in good faith, say that. But here's what I can do: we can talk about the math. Sometimes the math just makes sense. I'm
Right.
25 years old. I've got 30,000 sitting in this 401k. I plan on being with this company forever, but that 30,000 sitting in this 401k, if I take that tax and penalty hit at age 25, dump it into a product like MPI, and in 45, 50, by age 45 or 50, I'm in a position to now be able to retire versus leaving that $30,000 sitting in this company's 401k by age 45, 50. One, I don't have the money to be able to retire. Two, I couldn't retire if I wanted to because I'd be penalized.
And if the market crashed, you wouldn't have the time to recover from it.
Right. So it's really more of a discussion around what is the right thing to do, and mathematically, does it make sense? Um, but I can't. I do not. You will not see me or hear me say to you, "Hey, yeah, don't worry about that tax and penalty hit you're going to take. Just dump it over here because it'll do better for you." No, let's talk about the math, and then you've got a decision to make. You got a decision to make as to whether or not that makes sense for you. I talk about my AT&T clients all the time. I got a couple of brothers who retired from AT&T, not retired. They left AT&T and T, and they both left with a $500,000 in their 401k. And they were adamant about starting a business. They were adamant about taking that $500,000 they each have, so in total a million, that $500,000 they each have, and go start a business that was going to really be their retirement plan. And the question was, hey, I don't care. I am prepared to take the tax and penalty hit on a $500,000 so I can go start this business. Let's do the math. 30% on a $500,000 is 150 grand. There's no way I can allow you to take a tax hit, penalty hit on 150 grand to go start this business. But what did we do? We have other opportunities. They took that $500,000, put it in a self-directed 401k. I'm sorry, a self-directed Roth 401k based off, someone had mentioned that earlier. Because they self-directed moved their money, I'm sorry, into a self-directed Roth 401k that gave them access to all $500,000 to be able to go do their business, and it allows them to be able to leverage that $500,000 inside that 401k now versus waiting till retirement age. It allows them to start their business. The business is now making income, and now their $500,000 has now blossomed into the growth on the business. And between the two brothers, they're able to share money back and forth between their 401ks and leverage each other's 401k dollars to be able to do bigger and better things. The
Wow.
moral of the story is, if you have a lump sum available to you, you have a dollar amount, you have a vehicle that you're trying to understand how to use, let's have that discussion, because there's many actions that you may be able to take, not just, hey, should I withdraw money from it to be able to do what it is I want to do? There's many different actions you can take.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of answers or should answer this question, although you didn't call it out directly, that the retirement account was with the previous employer because they had left AT&T, and T, and
Yep.
so therefore they qualified to roll it over
Yep.
into a self-directed account.
But let's talk about that a little bit further, though. In most cases, if you left an employer and you left a retirement account with that employer, absolutely, you have the ability to self-direct that account and use it for whatever you want. It's yours. You have the ability to put it in the right place, properly structure it so that you can use it to be able to invest and do the things that you want to do. But let's say you're working with this employer and you have a healthy retirement account. You still want access, or you want the ability to be able to access those dollars to be able to do whatever you want. In some cases, you can. It's simply a request that you would have to make to your current employer, and it's called, you would want to see if you qualify for what's called an in-service transfer. An in-service transfer is telling your employer, hey, I know I've got X amount of dollars inside my 401k. I want to transfer a certain portion of those dollars, tax-free, penalty-free, into another location to be able to use them for what I want. I do know companies that do allow that, but I say the majority of companies don't, and here's why. What you're telling your company is, I want to take money from you and go use it over here and do my own thing. Who has control over those dollars? As long as you work for that company has control over those dollars.
And
So
they get
they
the
may not
benefit.
allow you to do that. And exactly, there's a reason why they have control. There's a reason why, rabbit holing. There's a reason why they wanted you to tax defer the dollars you put inside that company retirement account. You think the reason you're tax deferring those dollars is so that you get this tax benefit and you're not taxed as much on your income. That's not the real reason. I was almost going to say lie they told you, but I don't want to call someone's baby ugly. That is not the reason why they want you to tax defer those dollars. The reason is because of the tax benefit the company receives on those tax deferred dollars. Because for you, the growth on that money means when you go to retire, you're going to be taxed on all of it. So you're going to end up paying taxes on everything. So in truth, there was no benefit to you. That short-term benefit to you became a long-term detriment because you're now going to be taxed on every dollar you make, or every dollar that's been accumulated from the dollars that you've made.
Right.
versus if you would have just paid the taxes on your contributions today and put it in a Roth 401k, again, like the gentleman mentioned, he's spot on, converted that into a Roth account. Now that growth is growing tax free. And when you go to access it at age 65 or whatever that age would be, it's tax free income. We have digressed, by the way.
Well, one last question. We,
Let's
we
go.
really have it though, because this is,
It all ties.
man,
It
you
all
guys,
speaks. It all ties. I'm with you.
if you take one thing away from this live stream is being able to see what's possible and then go figure out what it is that you're doing, go watch the retirement gamble, and then let's come back and have a chat on Wednesday when we show you why money makes money in the way that it does inside of a plan like a maximum premium indexing strategy. Because when you see how many people are cut out of the process and how many paychecks are not being cut anymore, then you'll get why this is possible. And I bet you're going to be so angry and mad and asking, why hasn't this been possible the whole time? Why have so many people been cutting checks to these people for this system that is in place, and how is this even legal? That's probably the question that you're going to walk away asking. I know I still get upset thinking about it, and it's because I just don't think that it's okay that these systems are in place and functioning the way that they are. But to your point, Dano, a lot of people, HR department, we can sit here and say they're the ones, they're the dealers, right? They may not be the people making the drug essentially, but they're on the streets and they're the dealers. They're the ones that are selling it to people, and they believe it. They believe that this is the best thing. They believe that this is what you're supposed to do. And so a lot of them have no idea what they're even a part of. That's sad.
So,
Okay. So
Mrs.
this
J's
question.
question.
Yeah.
Yep. So, a couple things. A HELOC and a HELOC could be two different types of HELOCs. So I think it's first understanding what vehicle you're looking at purchasing, and the details of those vehicles. And here's what I mean. Most people, when you say, "Hey, I'm getting a HELOC on my home, a home equity line of credit," most people are saying those words in second position. And here's what I mean. You've got a mortgage on your home, and let me use actual numbers. You got a mortgage on your home that's a $300,000 mortgage that you're paying on, and the that home is worth 400,000. No, let's just use a better number, 500,000. You got a $300,000 mortgage. The mortgage is worth 500,000. So most people, when they say HELOC, what they're saying is, "Hey, I know in first position I have this mortgage. I'm paying this mortgage payment every month. I would like to take advantage of the 200,000 between the 300,000 that I owe on this mortgage and the 500,000 that my house is worth. That 200,000, I'd like to be able to use a portion of that 200,000 to be able to address debt, or use it as a velocity banking tool, or be able to invest with it." Moral of the story is that 200,000, I want some portion of that to be able to use to go do other things. So the bank goes, "You can't all have 100% of it. So you can't have all 200,000, but maybe we'll let you access 80%, 60%, 40%, some difference." But what does that ultimately mean? That means you now have a mortgage payment. And now that you have a second position HELOC, you now have a HELOC payment. You now have two payments. I can walk you through having that second position HELOC is still a positive, because you can use that second position HELOC to do a lot of things. I'm saying that to say this. What questions do you ask as it relates to the HELOC? The first one is, what position are we talking about? Are we talking about a first position HELOC or a second position HELOC? That's number one. And then number two, there's a lot of questions around, and I see, I have a few tools that I could probably share with you if you kind of fill out the form or text me these questions as well. I can share with you some of the specific questions to ask around, hey, how is the interest accrued? What is the how is the interest rate determined? Is it daily? Is it variable? Is there a ceiling on how high that interest rate can go? So there's a few different questions that I can kind of lay out for you to be able to ask. But again, the first one is, what type of position are we referencing? Is this a first position HELOC? And what I mean by first position is, instead of your mortgage, Again, 300,000, house is worth 500,000. You're going to get a first position HELOC for 300, 350 to pay off the mortgage, which means now the mortgage payment has now been eliminated. But you do have a first position HELOC payment for whatever that $350,000 might be. That is kind of what we have on our home, a first position HELOC in place of the mortgage. So again, I'm kind of digressing on that too. But the moral of the story is there's a lot of different questions to ask based off the type of HELOC we're talking about. Mortgage 346, net worth 493. So you're asking for a second position HELOC of around 15,000 to be able to do velocity banking. I'd say that's a pretty much a no-brainer. I think the key is understanding what your interest rate is and how that interest rate accrues and the flexibility of this HELOC. Meaning, can you link that HELOC to your checking account, to your mortgage? Like, what is the flexibility you have? Another one is related to how you're able to pay on that HELOC. Is it an open-ended vehicle that once you put money into that HELOC, high level example, it's a $15,000 HELOC. Let's say the balance, you use 10,000 of it to address credit card debt. So now the balance is in 15,000. The balance owed is now 10 grand. Is that HELOC a vehicle such that you could put all of your income on it, which obviously then drops that balance? But is that income that you put onto that HELOC readily accessible, immediately accessible to be able to then take, if you needed to, all of your income off of that HELOC and go use it? Meaning, how quickly is the transaction between putting your income on the HELOC and being able to access all of your income? Sometimes there's a delay. Sometimes there's a process. It really just depends on who you get the HELOC from. My point is there's a lot of questions that I probably couldn't list them all here if I wanted to.
Yeah, but they're great questions, and I think that's the beauty of strategy like velocity banking is that it is extremely versatile. It's extremely flexible. You can customize it for your own needs and you can make it your own. But the foundation of velocity banking is the foundation for so many wealth strategies actually and how money can actually grow. Velocity banking is not a wealth strategy. It is a debt reduction system. Has nothing to do with making your dollar work and go out and find friends and come back. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with just saving you money, but it is not making you money. But the concept, if you can get this concept down, then you'll start to see opportunities all over the place. And believe me, if I can learn, anybody can learn. If I could get on board, anybody could get on board. I love that you say, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a series, this or that. I don't think you need to. I think people out here who are saying, I'm credible and you should listen to me because I've gone 6 years in school to learn about this stuff. First of all, this should be taught to everybody because this applies to all of us. Should be in regular school, elementary school, high school. This should not be something that you have to pay for or go and study specifically. Do you want to have income for the rest of your life? Yes, everybody does. Do we need a degree to show that that's important to us? No, nobody should have to have a degree. You should be able to understand these concepts regardless of how degreed you are or educated you are.
But let's take this a step further though, because I think we have to ask the right questions. The
Okay.
question isn't whether or not I'm a financial advisor. That's not the question. The
Okay.
question to ask is, what is my fiduciary responsibility?
Yeah,
That's
and
the
what's the
question.
retirement gamble?
That's the question. What is my fiduciary responsibility to you? Because here's what you learn. Someone who is a certified financial advisor has fiduciary responsibility. You think that fiduciary responsibility is to you as the client. That's what you assume. If you were to Google financial advisor, certified financial advisor, fiduciary responsibility, you might even read, yes, certified financial advisors have a fiduciary responsibility to their client. Here's the challenge with that. Which client? Who do they have fiduciary responsibility to first? If you are at Vanguard and you're working with a financial advisor at Vanguard, is his responsibility to you first? or is his responsibility to his broker dealer who provides him his paycheck first? He is legally obligated to his broker dealer first. What does that mean? Okay, you're sitting down with this financial advisor at Vanguard and he's showing you all of the 72 mutual fund stocks and bonds he has available to you for you to be able to self-direct your money to be able to invest in what they have. What you ask that financial advisor who's captured to his broker dealer, hey, I get it, these 72 mutual fund stocks and bonds that you offer, but hey, there's a apartment complex across the street. Can I use my retirement dollars that I have sitting with you to be able to go buy that property across the street? The answer you're going to receive is, I cannot advise you to do that. And it's because he legally cannot advise you to do that because he is captured with Vanguard and it can only offer you what Vanguard offers. His fiduciary responsibility is to his broker dealer first. Then you come second. Wouldn't you rather have someone that you're working with whose fiduciary responsibility is to you first? Meaning they won't offer, they won't suggest, they won't put your money in a position that doesn't do anything but benefit you. My fiduciary responsibility is to the clients that I work with first. My goal is to make sure you're in a position to produce the income that you want first. I am not captured by some other whoever. My fiduciary responsibility, my legal fiduciary, my licensed fiduciary responsibility is to my client. There's a whole lot of financial advisors who are Series 7, Series 6, and Series whatever certified that cannot say the same thing. So the question you should be asking is, what is your fiduciary responsibility?
Yeah. And will you sign a pledge that says that you will be acting in my best interest,
That's it.
regardless of the products that you sell, and that your advice will be in my best interest first? So I think that's a great question. Also, watch the retirement gamble because that will unpack a whole lot of that and
Right.
why we're
Because
so
these aren't Donnell's
passionate.
words.
Yeah, why we're so passionate
Yeah.
about this, because when you learn, you can't unsee it. That's all I'm going to say. You can't unsee it. Okay, this what he's talking about though is, instead of it being somebody called you a wealth manager the other day, and I was like, no, he's not a wealth manager.
Definitely
Let
not.
me explain what he is so that you can understand he's not a wealth manager, because they're two completely different things, and there's actually what we would never want to be is a wealth manager in the way that she's thinking of it anyway. We'll manage our own wealth. But the concept is becoming self directed. This is not
Control.
a type of account that we were hoping everybody gets. This is a movement. This is a mindset. This is an action that you're taking every single day to educate yourself, not because, gosh, I've got to read all these books or I've got to take all these courses in order to understand how to do this. It's because there's just been some gatekeeping, and when you find these keys, you unlock these doors and you go like, I could have been doing this the whole time by myself, and I could have been making these decisions knowing that and feeling confident and educated about making these decisions because I'm self-directed. So that is what he's talking about. And again, if you don't want to wait until Wednesday to find out how the money is being made inside of what you saw tonight in particular, and why you may want to get even more aggressive with your velocity banking strategy to be able to start your wealth building strategy. This is the point. This is where we're going, and this is what we're going to talk about on Wednesday. But if you don't want to wait until Wednesday, we will show you right now or in a moment. Do you have anything else you want to put in there?
I
Okay.
think I'm good.
We're going to show you right now how to get access to all that. It's instant access. We don't bother you with a whole bunch of stuff. You give us your email address, you tell us where to send it, and we just send you everything that we have. And in addition to that, when we when we have it all ready, got to make it look good. When we have it all ready, I'm going to send out the Velocity Banking Google Sheets worksheet that you can just make a copy of and customize on your own too. That's free too. Okay. So why are we doing all of this? Because we built a machine that feeds itself. And we want to just teach other people how to do the same thing. We're tired of the gatekeeping, watch the retirement gamble, and then you'll understand why we're so passionate and why we're out here like this has to stop. That if we didn't have access to this information, we would be sitting in a very different place right now. And it was just simply information. That's it. That was the only difference that changed the game for us and for future generations to come. And that is our gift to the world, is to say we are just going to get out here and start shouting it from the mountaintops. So share this out. Be sure that you've subscribed. And if you want to, what time Wednesday? Sundays and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If those times don't work for people, because we seem to have a pretty decent viewership tonight. If you want us to go later or earlier, we can kind of play around with times, and we're thinking about adding one more day of the week. So that feedback is important. Okay, if you don't want to wait until Wednesday, here's how to get access to all of that. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you Wednesday, guys. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait. Invest in what you want, when you want. But first, let us help you get self-directed.